Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video, doing GWV Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. So, as well as on Sunday, you're going to have your eclectic mix of this map. We're doing things like sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, the oceans, Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, and all of that stuff. And I shall get on it for you in a moment. And of course, we'll be looking at weather next 10 to 14 days and beyond also. The first video released today was the summer update. So the second summer update was released as our first video today. Have a look at that one, see what you think. And we're going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock tonight. So we'll be live streaming Patal Peng's analogues from 6 o'clock. We're going to show you the summer forecast from Patal Peng, and possibly, if you want it, a look at Patal Peng's winter 2020-21 forecast this month. What do you think about that? So that'll be from 6 o'clock tonight. I shall see you then. But let's get on with the Sunday Roundup. So just to say, subs are continuing to increase. Thank you so much, everybody, for subscribing. We are now at 10,759 subscribers. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for subbing. Trying to get to 11k. So if you aren't yet subbed to our channel, please can you give us a sub, tell your friends, family, everybody else to subscribe as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. This is the Google Chrome Social Play plugin for GWV. So how exciting is that? Yeah, but one of these days in a video we're going to see that going up while we're recording. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? But thank you so much, everybody, for subscribing. Anyway, right, let's get on with it, mate. Let's start off with solar activity. This is how the solar disk is looking on our side today from Soham. .net. We've got two sunspot areas, one there, very small areas. So despite that, solar activity is at low levels and is expected to remain at low levels for the next 3 days. This is how the GWV solar activity tracker is looking, updated to today by keeper of the solar tracker, James Ackworth. Thanks so much, James, for updating this. So the orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So you can see we are getting like regular sunspots now, but at a very low level. So you see we are maintaining sunspots now as we go further on into solar cycle 25. We're beginning to get rid of those days that don't have sunspots. The long stretches of days without sunspots that you get through solar minimum. We're beginning to see that going away a little bit now, and we are managing to maintain solar activity, but at a low level, at a very low level, and so it is enough though to begin to lift up our trend lines, the thick green and the thick red lines. They're beginning to lift up a little bit. So yeah, it's an interesting period that we're in. We're beginning to see solar cycle 25 beginning to get a little bit more active now, I think, but still at a low level. It's still a struggle to get the solar cycle going. There's no sign of like this sort of big ramp up in activity that we had at back in at the end of last year in November. There's no sign that we'll return to that. So solar activity is being maintained, but at a really low level of activity. Thanks so much, James, for sending that through. Now, who am I today with Richard's gift? So let's have a look at this and see who I am. So it's GAV4 today. Richard's made me into GAV4. Thank you so much. Richard, wow, I don't know. That's Chris Hemsworth, isn't it? I am nowhere near as good looking as him. But thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into 4. Wow. Right, so this is how things are in terms of the spotless days and current spotless stretch. So, the current spotless stretch is 0 days, as we had a sunspot yesterday, and we've got a sunspot today. For 2021, though, we've had 32 days of the year so far about sunspots. That's 44% of the year. So that percentage is reducing now. That percentage is coming down. It's still quite a high percentage given that we're 2 years into the solar cycle, though. But we can expect that to reduce further as we move through the year, and of course solar activity will continue to increase, but probably quite slowly. 2020 had 208 days without sunspots. That's 57% of the year. Of course, our solar minimum year was 2019, with 281 days without sunspots. That was 77% of the year. So, yeah, we're moving into solar cycle 25 because we began solar cycle 25 in December 2019, I think. So we're in the second year of solar cycle 25, but only slowly are we moving into it. Thank you so much, Rich, and also to James for the data, and to Rich for turning me into 4. Right, let's have a look at the oceans now. I'm not going to look at the Indian Ocean dipole again this week, so sorry everybody, I have not got time to get through with this one. We'll have a look at the ID soon. But we're going to focus on our 3 areas of interest: the Equatorial Pacific Ocean just here, the North Pacific over there, and also North Atlantic over here. That's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. Let's have a look at the very latest. So in terms of the ENSO region, I think we've seen like a further weakening of the La Nina signal. That's this blue, this blue area just here through the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. I think we've seen a further weakening of La Nina over the past week, as you expect, given that we are, going into the spring, or we're into spring now, which always takes us back to ENSO neutral. Normally it does, anyway. So we're reverting from La Nina back to ENSO neutral in the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. Most areas are still a little bit colder than average, but definitely the La Nina signal is weakening. In the northeastern Pacific, very little change there. It remains slightly colder than average. In the North Atlantic, again, very little change in most areas, but it is beginning to get a bit colder here off the coast of Africa. That's quite interesting, because if that was to continue, if it was to develop and expand through the tropical Atlantic with cold and average sea surface temperatures into the summer, that would have a dampening effect on the hurricane season. But it's very early days. These are shallow waters, just off the coast of Africa, so they're subject to temperature change with the weather and whatnot. So maybe they're going through a cooler period through there in terms of their weather, and that's cooling the ocean a little bit, with the shallow waters. So it's not necessarily the case that that's going to continue into the summer. We'll wait and see. We'll keep an eye on it. Otherwise, unchanged really for most parts of the Atlantic. So most areas remain warmer than average, above average temperature anomalies in most parts of the Atlantic Ocean at the moment. Very little change there. This is how the SOI is currently looking. So the SOI is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, of course. It's measuring air pressure between Darwin and Tahiti. It doesn't drive anything in its own terms, just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. When the SOI is negative, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is positive, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. So if we come down, we can see that our numbers, our daily sort of SOI numbers, these are preliminary, but they don't change all that much. So these are our columns, of course, for Tahiti and for Darwin, just here in terms of air pressure, and this is the SY number that's scored by those air pressure readings overall. So you see there's a lot of negative numbers at the moment: -6, -8, -6, -2, -3, -4, -8. Did go a little bit positive there on the 10th and 11th of March, +4 and +7, but then back negative again, -6, -11, -2. So yeah, the SOI is in a rather negative phase at the moment, which is an abstract setup that's a little bit more reflective of El Nino, if anything. It is enough to move the SOI 30-day average as well, quite significantly. So back at the end of February, we was up here with the SOI 30-day average up at around +15. Now we are only at +2, virtually back to neutral. Really. The 90-day average, the yellow dash line here, that hasn't moved as much. But of course that's a 9-day average, so it doesn't move quite as much as the 30-day average. But definitely the 30-day average has moved a lot. And this is all indicative of the end of La Nina, like the unravelling of La Nina, and we're back to ENSO neutral now. We wait to see where we're going to go after that. CFSV2 is forecasting we're going to stay at ENSO neutral now through the next few months, the rest of the year really, but on the cold side of ENSO neutral. So our temperature anomalies on the bottom of the chart, our dates are on the bottom of the chart in terms of monthly periods, temperature anomalies on the side. So where we are right now is back at ENSO neutral. The all-important number, of course, is -0.5, half a degree below average. That's where we've got to get to be at La Nina temperature threshold. For El Nino, it's half a degree above average, +0.5 degrees, by the way. This, of course, anything in between from there to there is going to be like neutral. So where we are right now is on the cold side of ENSO neutral. The black dash line on the mean essentially forecast that we stay on the cold side of ENSO neutral as well. It's a bit of scatter in there. There are still some ensemble blue members that are going back into La Nina conditions through the summer and into the autumn. One or two are lifting up into an El Nino type, weak El Nino type situation as well. But overall, this CFS wants to keep us now ENSO neutral, but on the cold side of ENSO neutral through the rest of the year. But we are at the spring predictability barrier, so we're going to have to wait another month or two before the markets get a real feel about where ENSO is going to go through the summer and into the autumn. QBO is looking like this. This is from NASA, of course. This is showing Westerly and EC QBO phases. So we are in a Westerly QBO at the moment in terms of the troposphere. This is like the troposphere here, 30 to 50 HPA. This will be the stratosphere. Whoops, that would have been wonky, didn't it? This will be like the stratosphere up there. So we're in a westerly phase of the QBO at the moment. Of course, as we know, we've got the EC QBO lurking in the stratosphere, still not pushing down into the troposphere yet. The troposphere is 30 to 50 HPA. However, it does look as though the ECQBO, if we zoom in, does look as though the ECQBO is continuing to strengthen. You can see the colours up here in the stratosphere are getting a little bit more intense in terms of these blue colours. So the ECQBO is there in the stratosphere, just a matter of when it's going to descend down from the stratosphere into the troposphere. We will continue to look. At the moment the Westerly QBO goes on in the troposphere, the Easterly QBO is waiting in the stratosphere. This is how things look in terms of Eurasian snow cover. So the snow line is across the far eastern part of Europe and is being maintained through there at the moment. So we haven't seen, from last week, haven't seen any further reduction really in snow cover from the far east of Europe. Eventually it will pull back into western Russia, of course, but at the moment the snow cover is being maintained across eastern Europe. Otherwise the rest of Europe is pretty much snow free, except in mountainous areas such as the Alps, for example. Until we come to Scandinavia, then we do have a lot of snow away from southern Scandinavia anyway. This is how things look in terms of ice coverage. So this is from National Snow and Ice Data Centre. This is our Arctic sea ice extent. You see we're below average. The blue line is 2021. You see we're below average for Arctic sea ice extent at like the maximum period of the year. We're below the long-term averages, which are these grey lines just here. Let's see how we compare to previous years. So this is 2020. We're below, slightly below 2020 for our sea ice maximum, and we're on a par with 2019. We're above 2018 though, and we're above 2017. Let's see if we can get 2016. So it does become quite difficult to see which years we're looking at. So let's reduce some of those. So we're quite close to 2016, actually a little bit above 2016 at the moment. We're above 2015 as well. We're very close to 2014. We're below 2013, and that's 2012. We're also quite close to 2012 for our maximum Arctic sea ice extent. So yeah, you know, we're below average in terms of sea ice extent, but we're on a par with a lot of previous years. Virtually our maximum for Arctic sea ice extent, and we're going to see like the melt season getting going over the next few weeks, month. We will bottom out with Arctic sea ice extent in the early part of September. We'll keep updated on that. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast is looking like this. Let's just zoom in, shall we? Have a look at the AO observed and forecast. So remember, this is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's not driving anything, it just tells what the atmosphere is doing. So when the AO is negative, got blocking over the Arctic, got high pressure over the Arctic. When the AO is positive, though, got low pressure over the Arctic. So negative is blocking high pressure, and positive is going to be low pressure. We have had a very, very positive AO. We're still very positive with it at the moment. We've been up here. GFS ensembles are forecasting the AO to reduce a lot in the coming week or so. Going to return back to neutral, or possibly even slightly negative. Of course, through most of the winter, the AO was negative, actually. Not for long though. It looks like we're going to be bringing the AO back up and keeping it positive really through towards the end of March. So the positive phase, we have entered positive phase of the AO, did that around the middle of February. Positive phase of the Arctic oscillation goes on, albeit the next few days we'll see quite a big reduction temporarily in the AO. NAO observed forecast looks like this. Again, black line shows where we've been with the NAO, red line saying where GFS on Sol's forecasting NAO to go. So at the moment the NAO is positive. Again, a bit of a reduction in the NAO back to neutral around the middle of March, just in the second half of the month, and then we're going to go positive again. So we've got both of the indexes in a long-term positive phase, and this is a signal for westerlies to continue. Right, so let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensemble. Do a little bit of forecasting before we go. So red line's the 30-year upper air temperature average for Milton Keynes today. Quite close to average at the moment, just a little bit below actually with the upper air temperatures. We are going to see a colder period coming up at the end of the week, going really quite cold. Some of those ensemble members go down to -10 at 850 HPA, only for a day or two at the end of the week, and then they start to lift back up again next weekend and into into the final week of March, just here generally lifting back up with the upper air temperatures. So things should become milder, I think, as we go through into the final stages of the month. Precipitation wise, going to be some showery bursts around over the next few days, then pretty dry at the end of next week into next weekend onto the beginning of the following week, perhaps a bit more unsettled by month's end. That's starting to run up towards Easter, of course. Right, so where do we want to go to next? In the tabs, let's have a look. Temperature anomalies on the 14th, 22nd of March. Going to be a little bit cold average for England and Wales, near normal for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Quite a cold week coming up across many parts of continental Europe. Precipitation anomalies from the 14th, 22nd of March are going to be drier than average, so pretty chilly but dry. Latest wind flow map from earthnoschool.net shows that westerlies continue to move in from off the Atlantic. This is how UK Met's looking for Wednesday. High pressure will be over into the western country on Wednesday, putting down a rather cool northerly wind in the east. Probably quite mild and pleasant though out in the west, close to that centre of that ridge of high pressure. Thursday and Friday will take high pressure a little further northwest and allow a colder wind to come in from the east, especially for England and Wales. That might deliver some wintry showers into eastern coastal areas, but as I say, only temporarily, and then the high pressure comes back in next weekend, cuts off the East Sea. Will be quite chilly under this ridge by night, certainly risk of some quite significant frost, but by day probably quite pleasant, and temperatures should start to recover, I think, next weekend. GFS midnight run, it looks very, very similar. So again, we've got pretty chilly northerly winds on the east side of the country. For the middle part of the week, it will be less chilly out in west and the centre of the ridge, and then we pull in this easterly as we get through to the end of next week. Will be quite cold with this easterly, bring wintry showers perhaps into southeastern parts of the country. -5 says isotherm is pushed through, but we soon cut off that easterly wind next weekend. High pressure will slip back down across the country, cuts off the easterly, turn mainly dry, and temperatures should start to stage a recovery. Moving up towards day 10, the high pressure will begin to slip eastwards. Haven't seen that for a little while, and that will allow winds to start to move in from the south. So this will start to turn things a lot milder as we move up towards the final week of March. We should see some proper spring temperatures getting going, albeit maybe starting to turn a bit more unsettled again, with some lower pressure bringing spells of rain in off the Atlantic. But wind has turned southerly or southwesterly, so it should be getting a little bit milder there through the final week of March. We should start to see temperature beginning to lift up, probably to low to maybe mid-teens. GFS 6 which has been updated as we've been speaking, looks like this. High pressure again, bringing lots of dry weather for the middle part of the week, a little bit on the cool side in the east. By Thursday, we started pulling a colder east-northeasterly into southern east parts of the country. Friday, we've got an easterly. Again, that might deliver some wintry showers into the southeast as the upper air temperatures from -5 Celsius. It is a big cold pool, -10 Celsius at 850 HPA, even -15 Celsius at 850 HPA over Scandinavia. So if we was to maintain this east-northeasterly for long enough, it would actually start to turn very cold, but it doesn't look like we're going to maintain it long enough, and that very cold upper air, those very cold upper air temperatures will sort of plunge down through Germany and then probably into France. We sort of bring this high pressure back in, cut off easterly, and temperatures then will start to lift up through next weekend. Heading up towards day 10, that's how we look. High pressure is to our east, low pressure to our west. Winds are starting to move up from the south now, so it should start to get a little bit milder. Let's just extend out beyond that to the end of the GFS 6 and eventually beginning to turn more unsettled, so milder but more unsettled probably into the last week of March. More in way of spring-like temperatures, but there will be spells of rain. Now this is looking proper spring-like though by month's end. This is 28th of March. High pressure is to our south and east. We are dragging up like a much milder, even you would say warmer southerly wind. So that is proper spring there, getting going at the end of a GFS 6. And I think we're probably going to start seeing a proper move into spring. Been a bit delayed so far, but I think we're probably going to see a proper sustained move into spring in the last week of March. This other GM is looks like you're waiting for spring. I think it could be on the way in around a week or so's time. Right, this other GM is looking, so once again, Wednesday we'll have high pressure out to our west, a little bit chilly across east parts of the country. Then we bring in more of an easterly wind as we get through to the end of next week, but not as cold with the upper air temperatures on the GM today as it was yesterday. And over the weekend, high pressure will be maintained over top of the country, brings loads of dry weather. Temperatures will begin to recover, heading up towards day 10. Again, just starting to turn a little bit more unsettled, some rain in the north and west, but it is turning milder with much more in way of a southwesterly wind, beginning to see the temperature returning to, or maybe even a bit above average. And then east GWF, again, high pressure will be out to our west on Wednesday. It's a little bit chilly for the east into the end of the week, much more of an east-northeasterly again with the ECM. So consequently, the ECM is colder with the upper air temperatures at the end of the week and into next weekend. Look, this is Saturday, proper easterly, still there, not seeing the west. This is when the other models are cutting off that easterly, but the ECM maintains the easterly and pushes in minus 10 Celsius, but that's enough to bring snow showers into eastern and southeastern parts of the country at the end of the week and into the weekend. But it's an isolated scenario now. All the other models are cutting off that EC before that minus 10 ice firm can get in. So the ECM is on its own. Just doesn't necessarily mean the ECM is wrong, but it is on its own now in being that cold at the end of the week. So I suspect we probably won't be that cold. I suspect the ECM will move in the same direction as the other models by tonight or tomorrow morning. And we won't bring in that minus 10 Celsius ice firm. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. It's possible. It's possible the ECM has got this right and the other models are wrong. Still with the EC across England and Wales on Sunday. This is quite a prolonged, really quite cold EC wind that the ECM has. The upper air temperatures aren't as bad, aren't as cold, but it would be raw with that easterly wind. And then up to day 10, we do see the easterly then begin to ease off. Still bring the air in from off the continent, but nowhere near as cold and a lot of dry weather. Definitely the ECM is the coldest of the models for the end of the week and the weekend today. But we'll probably reduce that cold outbreak. I think it will. We'll see. Right, this is how the precipitation type forecast is looking based on that ECM run from Tometeo.com. So we've got an area of rain coming across the country today. Could be a bit of hailstone mixing with that in the north. We're going to go into drying trend, of course, through the next few days. Winds will then turn into the east. We start bringing some wintry showers into the east at the end of the week. There's some snow southeastern areas, of course, and even a little bit of a snow streak is setting up there for the far southeast by next weekend. Then it goes mainly dry as we move up towards day 10, and we will lose those very cold temperatures. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensemble today for day 10. Gets us to the 24th of March. 17 members of the ECM ensemble have low pressure out to our west. High pressure will be, let's change the colour, high pressure will be over and to the east of the country, a lot of dry, where with that, winds coming in from more of a southeasterly direction. That does include the control and the operational run. 10 have high pressure, again, just to our east. Low pressure will be to our northwest, again, a lot of dry weather. And with that, 7 will have low pressure in off the Atlantic. That's going to be much more unsettled. Another 7 down here will have high pressure right over top of the country. 5 will have high pressure way to our northwest, some low pressure to our southeast. Winds a little bit more northeasterly with that, perhaps. And then 5 have high pressure sort of over the top of the country. Most of those options seem to involve high pressure. in some form or another, so probably a lot of dry weather around day 10. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This gets us to 29th of March, almost to the end of the month. 17 members of the ECL ensembles with high pressure over the coast, going to be mainly dry and fine with that. 15 with high pressure to our northeast, we'll be bringing up like a southeasterly type flow. That should be quite spring-like and pleasant. 14 with low pressure out to our northwest, also a little bit more unsettled with that one. And then 5 have high pressure away to our northwest, and we'll be bringing quite a cold northeastern wind. But only 5 do that. Most of the other options seem to involve like the development of spring. So I think we're probably going to see spring arriving properly for the last week of March. CMSV2 looks like this. Is a 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from 14th, 20th of March. The coming week will have high pressure to our northwest. Low pressure will be to our southeast. Winds will be in from more of an east or a northeasterly direction. So it will be quite chilly in the week ahead, especially for southern and eastern areas. Week 2 will be the 21st, 27th of March. High pressure will be over, slightly to the east of the country, bringing more of a southeasterly type drift. So again, lots of fine weather with that, and temperatures recovering. This looks quite nice as well. This is 28th of March to the 3rd of April, heading into Easter. High pressure ridging in from the Atlantic into northern and western Europe. Jet streams up here, so on the mild side of the jet. That should be proper spring, I would have thought. And then week 4, though, this is the 4th to the 10th of April. The high pressure is beginning to pull back out into the Atlantic, probably starting to bring in more of a northwesterly, and a low pressure beginning to form around Greenland and Iceland. If high pressure goes any further out to our west, of course, we may start to pull in a colder northerly there. Not something that we particularly want as we go into the middle of April. Lastly, this hour CFSV2 is forecasting April overall, still with a strongly anticyclonic signal flavour, high pressure centred over the top of the UK and the North Atlantic. A mild of an average month is being predicted by CFS V2 for April with above average temperatures. No signal for precipitation, but you expect a dry month with high pressure in control of the weather. And that's it, we're done. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You'll be able to see future weather content. Tell your friends, family, everybody else to subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. And drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much, everybody. Right then, that's it for Sunday Round-Up for today. We're going to be back at 6 o'clock where we will be live streaming. So I shall see you live at 6. It's going to be a Towel Paint special. We'll see you then. But for the Sunday Round-Up, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.